I hope you've had a good day so far. I hope you're having a wonderful Christmas I hope you're having a good time getting ready and getting prepared for Christmas festivities and Christmas gatherings and celebrations. Today we'll be looking at the story of the wise men in continuation with our Advent messages. And in this story, there are a few parts that I think is important to look at. And the first part is the joy of seeing the star. In this story, we learn about how joyful the men were in seeing the star. Some of us in our current lives, in our current time, may be used to the same old routine, having family visits leading up to the usual arguments, having the same spread of food each year, having the same usual gifts from friends, from parents. And we may be used to having these mundane things going on in our lives, just the same usual thing. And just like the men, one mundane evening, they witnessed this star. What is our expectations leading up to Christmas? What are our expectations leading up to Christmas? Some of us are probably worried about family members. Some of us are probably worried about our friends. Some of us are worried about our finances and our health. Some of us may be worried about the cost of living at the moment. But I would just like to remind us about what this season is about, which is joy. Matthew chapter 2, verse 9 to 10 tells us of what joy the men experienced when seeing the star. They experienced so much joy, not from seeing the source of the star, but just seeing an indication of the star, or an indication of what the star represented. We know and have that source within us, the source that they were looking for. These men had so much joy just from seeing the star that they probably danced, they probably partied, they probably sang, you name it. Can you think of a time when you were so happy, you were so joyful, you were so elated that you just bursted out laughing, dancing, singing? I'm sure these men experienced something just as great as that. And on that note, I think I'm just going to have a quick prayer for us. And the prayer is that this Christmas time, this Christmas period, that our expectations, whatever they may be, whether they are high, whether they are low, I pray that they are exceeded this Christmas. In Jesus' name. The second part that I would like to talk about is the gifts that these men gave. The gifts they gave, we know them as frankincense, myrrh, and gold. And they gave these gifts because they thought it was appropriate, it was practical gifts that could be used, and would definitely have come in handy in looking after the baby. But I think there was one thing they gave that not many people talk about, or not many people focus on, and that was their time. Understandably, we are so busy around this time preparing the food, preparing for the occasion, that we don't have time to spare. How much of that time do we actually consider giving to God? And like I said, at the time, bringing gifts was one method they had, these men, to show how much they revered the source of the star. They didn't know what the source was at the time, but they had so much reverence for it that they thought these gifts were appropriate. But they gave their time in the journey from wherever they came from to Bethlehem. And I can imagine it must have taken them days, weeks, probably even months to get to the star, to get to Jesus. And we don't know how many people set off on that journey. The Bible doesn't actually tell us how many of them there were. So there could have been 3 of them, there could have been 10 of them, there could have been hundreds of them for all we know. I can imagine that was so much trouble to organize lifts. And considering they had no cars or quick mode of transportation, it would have taken quite a long time. I'm sure they had no Uber as well. But they weren't deterred by any of these problems. One bit. Their focus was just to get to the source of the star. So to round up, 'tis the season to be jolly, but what is the reason to be jolly in this season? And that is Jesus Christ. What do we focus on during this time? Do we focus on the food again? Do we focus on the family members that come to visit? Do we focus on the hub and the buzz of seeing friends, of seeing presents that Santa may have left underneath our Christmas tree? And whilst all of these are a part of Christmas, and they are an important part, they should not be our focus. Our focus should be on the reason for the season. I hope you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful Christmas, one that is filled with joy and exceeded expectations. Stay blessed and be a blessing.